episode of Econ and Finance for the People. Today we're going to be going over some very basic terms because again, this course is going to be progressive. As we move forward, we're going to be building on the basic terms that we introduced in the earlier episodes. And the idea is that all of this is going to be 100% accessible. That means anyone with any level of understanding should be able to come in and start from the beginning, go through, learn all the basic terminology, and then we'll be able to get into the nitty-gritty stuff and hopefully break it down so that anyone can understand it as well. So today we're just going to be looking at a few of these basic terms. And then stay tuned, guys, because I'm also going to be sharing my top 4 tips for improving your cash flow. So the first term that I wanted to explain was the consumer. The main thing that we need to know about the term consumer is that it specifically refers to someone who buys goods and services to use for themselves. So it is not a business person. It's not that guy that bought up all the toilet paper with the idea that he could go around and on-sell it with price gouging prices, or the woman who bought up all the hand sanitizer and was going to go off and try and palm that off to people at rip-off level prices. So none of that is your basic consumer activity. A consumer is somebody who buys goods and services to use for themselves. Okay, the next term that we want to explain is demand. Now, demand, in order to understand the term demand, we need to just clarify what goods and services are really quickly. So goods are anything that we buy and sell that are tangible. So it can be fruits, it can be electronics, it can be automobiles, all these things that can be transported, can be packaged, can be displayed, and are physical and are marketed. These are all our goods. Services are any of the intangible products that are available to us. Things like getting a haircut, getting a massage, getting a bikini wax, getting financial advice, all of these things, they're considered intangible services. And so they're intangible products, and that's what services are. So we've defined goods and services, and now we can look at what demand is. Demand is basically when a consumer wants goods or services, and they have the means to be able to get them, meaning the funding or the money. So it's basically the need or desire plus the ability. When that comes together, that equals demand. And under the textbook definition of demand, it's also included that the consumer does not need to justify their purchase. That means they don't have to answer to anyone or explain to anyone why it is that they want that item. They don't need to fill out a form to prove that they absolutely need it or to demonstrate to anyone else why they want that thing. They just need to bring the money, show me the money, walk up and ask for the item. And then if they can trade the money for that good, if that good is being sold at that price, and they've got the money for it and they want it, then that's all they have to do. They just need to produce the funds and take the goods or services. So that's what demand is. Now that we've learned those few basic terms, we'll be able to build on those going forward in our future episodes. So let's get into our top 4 tips for improving your cash flow. The first thing we need to realize is that this is very broad advice. And obviously, this is not any financially qualifying advice or official financial service provider advice. This is just under the umbrella of general good life advice. Okay, so some of the things that we can do to improve our cash flow are very simple, and everyone's situation is different. So you'll just need to see if these tips and ideas apply to you and if they will work for you. The first thing that we can look at doing is reviewing our insurance. The problem with insurance is that we tend to just leave it ticking along year after year because the insurance provider is someone that we are used to, and we just can't be bothered switching over to someone that possibly could give us a better deal, especially if they are a newer insurer and they're trying to increase their market share. There might be some really good deals available in the first few years when an insurer is building up its reputation and looking for customers in the market. I used to work for an insurance company, and even years after I was no longer working for them, I continued to hold my policies with them because I knew their policies, I knew what would be covered, and I just felt very comfortable sticking with them. But recently, when I reviewed my insurance, I realized that I could actually save 50% of what I was spending on all of my policies simply by moving to another insurer. So how do we review our insurance, and how do we decide who to use and who's going to give us a better deal? First, we need to understand exactly what kind of cover we are hoping to have in place, and we need to read the policies that are being offered by the insurer to make sure that it's suitable. One of the worst things we can do is think that we're picking up a steal, a much cheaper deal, when actually we're getting far less cover than what we thought we were getting. So make sure you read the wordings. The next step is to ask for a claims history. And if you're like me with different direct debits and premiums going out left and right for different policies, the easiest thing for me to do, what I did was I requested my claims history and I requested copies of all of my premiums. And then it was really quickly for me to go online, and a lot of insurers are offering online quotes these days, so you can pop in your claims history, the value of your items, and then you can get a rough indication. And some of them you can even bind your covers straight online with your credit card. So when I was able to get all that information back from my insurer, I got my claims history, I got my copies of my premiums, so I knew exactly what each policy was costing me. Then I went out and I took a look online at some different insurers' websites and online quotes, and I immediately was able to find some much cheaper deals, and I switched over then and there. Then I sent an email to my previous insurer and canceled all of my policies. And I'm so happy that now, even though I may have slightly different cover, it's still something that's agreeable for me, that's going to work for me, and it is also saving me 50%. Another thing that you can do to improve your cash flow if you're reviewing your insurance is to look at possibly taking higher excesses. If you're comfortable that you can self-insure the portion of the risk that is obviously not going to be covered under your excess, then it might be a good idea to take that higher option, and that will also mean less money outgoing per week or per fortnight in the form of your insurance premiums. Okay, the next tip that I have for you is to review your banking fees. Now, if you go to the Econ and Finance for the People Facebook page, you will see there that I've recently shared a link that has a very good page which provides an excellent comparison of the different bank accounts in New Zealand, so that you can see which bank accounts are those that have zero fees to run. And usually it will be zero fees if you are operating 100% online, so you're not going to the counter, you're not using the teller and their services, because that obviously is a cost. So if you cut out all that, and it's just something that's trucking along online, your bank should be very happy to offer you that for free, because they're already having access to your money and they make money off that. So go check that out, take a look, and I will make sure that the link to that is in the description as well. Just find out if your account is fees-free or not, and if you are paying ongoing fees, even if it's $5 a month or $20 a year, these small fees all add up. And if you can get a better deal elsewhere, you probably should. So don't be lazy, go and review whether or not you're paying any fees on your bank account, and that little bit of extra you squeeze out, it will make a difference. Every little bit counts. Okay, so the third tip is consolidation. Now, I recently have been going through all of my debt and reviewing it and trying to get as much out of debt as I possibly can. And when I actually started focusing on it, I realized that I was able to knock off a lot of things that were eating up my cash flow. But sometimes we've got too many things on the go. We've started higher purchases and we've taken out different forms of finance for various reasons. It's understandable. Life happens and sometimes we make those choices. But when we want to get back on track and we have 5 or 6 or 10 different cards or money being sucked out from different sources, it's much, much simpler to put it all in one place. And that is consolidation. I can't believe that go back 6 or 7 years, I didn't even know what that was, let alone use that technique. I definitely use it now. So what we want to do, now there are different methods for tackling debt and your credit cards. We can talk about that as well, and then we'll get to consolidation. So one method that's recommended is the snowball method. With the snowball method, you basically want to focus on the loan that has the highest amount of interest. And the idea is that if your interest is higher on this particular loan, then you're obviously paying a lot more money on it. So if you're busy trying to split your extra cash across 10 different loans, meanwhile you're being charged a lot higher interest on this particular one, you're actually wasting money. So instead you should focus on that one. So for some people, the snowball method works really well, and they get inspired by focusing on the most expensive loan and tackling that one first. So that's one method that you can use. Another method is that, which is advocated by the Barefoot Investor, that finance book for your everyday middle-class person that talks about all kinds of different ideas on how you can tackle your finances. So if you're interested, take a look at that book. I would look at all the advice that's out there and really try to adapt it to my individual situation instead of reading it as God's honest truth, because there are so many different scenarios that each of us have with our finances, which is why it's really important to tailor what we're doing so that it suits our individual lifestyles and circumstances. But in any case, the method that's advocated in that book, The Barefoot Investor, is the Domino method. So with the Domino method, instead of tackling the debt that has the highest interest, you want to focus on the smallest loan so that you can get a kick out of feeling that you've paid that one off first. So the recommendation there is to try and renegotiate with all your finance providers and get them all down to the same interest rate by pitting them against each other. And in the book, he makes it sound really easy. I have to say it's a lot easier said than done. Maybe he could pull it off, but I feel like not everyone could. And some people, they're just the kind of person who will take no for an answer. So that doesn't really work for everyone. But the idea under that method is that you're going to negotiate all of your debts down to the same rate, and then you're going to focus on the smallest one first, knock that one off so you can celebrate, you've got a quick win, you're feeling good, you're feeling inspired, and then you're going to move on to the next one, and so on and so on. For me, I found that all of those different methods didn't really work for me in particular. What I like to do, and what I hope to not have to do anymore once I pay off all of my debt, is consolidation. So with consolidation, a lot of banks are very happy to buy your debt, and that's because they hope in the long run you're going to take out more loans with them, and you're going to take out a new credit card, and you're going to become their new favorite customer, and they're going to make a lot of money off of you. But if you play it right, you can move your finance around a couple times, move that debt around a couple times. Each time you consolidate, you might get 6 months or 12 months of interest free. And what you want to do is in that period, you want to hammer that debt really hard, attack it, pay off as much as you can while it's free money. And then obviously you can't keep moving round and round, but you want to stop and end up at the place where you're paying the least amount of interest possible, and then you can focus on that debt and nail it. So if you have a house and you can put it on your house, I would recommend looking into that, because obviously you can get very low rates that way. If you are not in a position to do something like that, you can still ask your banks and go around and ask different banks and find out where you could get the best consolidation deal, because so many banks are very happy to work something out for you, and you can take advantage of that. You can play it right. So finally, the fourth tip is something that's not going to apply to everyone, but for those that it applies to, I really recommend that you try this. If your budget is getting really, really tight and you're having a lot of trouble with your cash flow, my recommendation is to block off a holding period, kind of an emergency period in your calendar when you're absolutely not going to spend on any entertainment, no birthday parties, no fun. I know it's very hard and it's easier said than done, but this is for absolute emergencies. If you are in danger of losing control of your finances and you're in danger of having creditors knocking at your door, what you need to do is go through a period where obviously you're only paying for your fuel and your food and your accommodation. And don't go out and buy some new books or clothes or anything that is what we're really good at. We're really good at using the terminology now, anything that's non-essential. So just stay away from all of the fluff for a period, whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, anything that can help you get back on track and give you a little bit of a breather while you sort out anywhere else that you are also making changes to your budget to improve your financial situation. So I hope these tips have been helpful, and I'm so excited. I'm looking to share a lot more tips because I am also always reassessing my finances and trying to make sure that I am in control, I'm on track, I know where I'm going, and I'm not being snowed in by poor choices. And so I want to make sure that other people who have maybe been the victim of a lack of self-control, or whether it's been predatory financial offerings out there like those 24 months, 36 months interest-free deals that actually have a whole lot of things hidden in them that can come back and bite you later on. I just want to make sure that all this good information is out there. If I can help one person, I'm absolutely stoked. So thank you so much for listening. Tune in next time and we'll have more good stuff coming your way. Take care and see you next time. Bye.